Okay, so you have been Googling Oak Harbor, Washington. Maybe you're relocating for the Navy base. Maybe you stumbled on some photos of Puget Sound and thought that looks incredible. Maybe someone told you it is a hidden gem and now you are trying to figure out if it is actually for you. I'm going to do something a little different today. Instead of selling you on this place, I'm going to give you 10 honest, specific, real life reasons why Oak Harbor might actually drive you crazy. Because I would rather you make a fully informed decision than get here and feel like nobody told you the truth. I have lived and worked here for over a decade. I know this town, and I'm going to give you the version of Oak Harbor that the tourism brochure leaves out. Stay with me because by the end of this, you will know exactly whether this place is your kind of town or not. Before I get into it, real quick, every single week I get messages from people who are in exactly the spot you are in right now. They are researching Oak Harbor, trying to figure out if it makes sense for their family, asking questions about neighborhoods, about the market, about what it is actually like to live here day to day. And I genuinely love those conversations. So if that is you, whether you are 3 weeks out from a PCS move or just starting to explore the idea, reach out. My contact information is down in the description. Text me, call me, shoot me a DM. I am a real person who lives here and I will give you a straight answer. People just like you reach out every week and I am always happy to help. Okay, 10 reasons Oak Harbor might not be the right move for you. Let's go. Number 1, the homelessness debate is real and the community is still figuring it out. Let me start with something that is actively being debated in this community right now, because I think you deserve to hear it honestly before you move here. Oak Harbor and Island County have a visible and growing homeless population, and how to respond to that has been one of the most charged ongoing conversations in local politics and community life. If you spend any time in local Facebook groups or show up to a city council meeting, you are going to hear strong opinions fast. A big part of that conversation centers around organizations like Spin Cafe that provide services and support to people experiencing homelessness. Depending on who you talk to, Spin is either a vital lifeline doing compassionate, necessary work, or it is a flashpoint of concerns where services are located, visible street activity nearby, and whether current approaches are actually moving people towards stability. Both of those perspectives exist loudly in this community. And if you move here, you will hear both. Here's what I want you to know that most people covering this topic will not tell you. Island County commissioners recently took a real step forward. They unanimously approved a 5-year homeless housing plan built from a local task force, community surveys, and public comment that sets concrete goals around building a more equitable response system, strengthening service providers, preventing homelessness before it happens, and expanding flexible rental assistance. The plan specifically emphasizes life skills and financial literacy for newly housed individuals, and it prioritizes people facing the greatest barriers and risks of harm. County staff are now working to partner with city governments and regional housing providers to increase emergency shelter options. That is meaningful progress, and it tells you something important about this community. These issues are not being swept under the rug. The commissioners themselves have raised concerns about the ambition of the goals and the need to balance resources for vulnerable children and seniors, so there are real, honest conversations happening at the leadership level. The plan is a living document, not a solved problem. But if you are someone who wants to move somewhere that is at least working through these challenges thoughtfully, that context does matter. And if you're hoping to find a place where none of this exists, I just want to be straight with you that Oak Harbor is not that place. And honestly, nowhere is. Number 2, the entertainment scene is genuinely small, and that's not changing anytime soon. All right, let's talk about things to do, because this is probably the number 1 complaint I hear from people who move here and feel the adjustment most sharply. Oak Harbor is not going to give you a mall. It's not going to give you a Dave & Buster's, a Top Golf, a Cineplex with 20 screens, or an arcade bar. It is a small city, and the entertainment reflects that. What you do have, and I want to be fair here, is some genuinely fun local options. Oak Bowl has been around forever, and it's a great time. Toss and Axes is a local axe throwing spot that people love for date nights and group hangouts. The Roller Barn is a classic actual roller skating, and it is a blast, especially with kids. There's a local movie theater, some solid bars, farmers markets, a good amount of outdoor-oriented activity, and if you're into live music on a smaller scale, that scene exists here too. But here's what I really want you to sit with. If your social life and mental health are tied to having a wide variety of entertainment options within 20 minutes, you're going to feel it. Especially in the winter, the outdoor stuff gets less appealing and you start to realize that you've been to Oak Bowl 4 times this month because there's genuinely not that many other options. Now, here's something worth paying attention to. The community is actively talking about bringing a recreation center to Oak Harbor. There have been conversations at the city level about what that could look like and whether it's something residents want to invest in. That is a real and encouraging sign that the community sees the gap and wants to address it. But we're talking about years, not months. So the honest answer right now is that the entertainment scene is limited, the community knows it, and there is a slow moving effort to grow it. That's where things stand. Number 3, Oak Harbor's identity is always evolving, and not everyone likes that. Here's something that doesn't come up in most videos like this, but I think it's genuinely important for anyone who is considering putting down roots in Oak Harbor. This community has been changing for decades, and it keeps changing. Sometimes in ways that feel exciting, and sometimes in ways that feel like you are losing something you loved. Think about some of the shifts longtime residents have lived through. The historic windmill in Oak Harbor, a landmark that was a fixture of the community's visual identity for years, is gone. City Beach and Windjammer Park have gone through significant changes over the years, and those changes have always come with passionate opinions on both sides. And right now, one of the biggest ongoing conversations in this community is about revamping the waterfront. What that looks like, who it serves, how it changes the character of the area. These are live, active debates. If you are someone who falls in love with a place as it is and wants it to stay exactly that way, Oak Harbor may frustrate you because it does not stay still. The military presence means constant population turnover. New residents bring new ideas, and the town is always in some state of reinvention. Some people find the energy exciting, others find it unsettling. But here's the flip side, and I do want to give you this because it is a smaller community. Your voice actually matters here. If you go to a city council meeting in a major metro, you are one of 10,000 people who showed up. In Oak Harbor, you're one of 40. People on the city council know your name. Local businesses know who you are. When residents pushed back on certain development decisions, it actually made a difference. So yes, change is constant, but you're not just watching it happen from the sidelines. You actually have a seat at the table if you want one. Number 4, the military bubble is real and it can make civilian life feel invisible. I did a video about 10 reasons not to move to Whidbey Island, and it touched on the fact that NAS Whidbey is a major employer here. And that is true. But what I want to go deeper on is the cultural dynamic that creates, because it affects everyday civilian life in ways people do not always anticipate. Oak Harbor is in many ways a military town first. The rhythms of the base, deployment cycles, PCS seasons, the school year patterns tied to military families shape the entire community. Local businesses are acutely aware of it. The rental market spikes when a new wave of service members arrive. Certain neighborhoods have a very high turnover rate, and there is a cultural layer to the community that if you are a civilian with no military background, can take some time to understand and navigate. This is not a criticism of military culture at all. It is a remarkable community with incredible values and resilience. But if you're a civilian moving to Oak Harbor expecting a typical small town civilian vibe, you may find yourself in a minority in certain circles. The social fabric here is woven significantly around the base. And if you're not part of that world, finding your people can take a little more intentional effort. The Growler jets are part of the story too. These EA-18G aircraft, some of the loudest military planes in operation. When they are doing flight operations, you know it. The noise complaint debate has been a real community issue for years, and depending on where you live in relation to the flight paths, it can range from kind of cool to I can't hear myself think. That is something to research very specifically based on which neighborhood you are considering. Number 5, grocery and retail options will require a real adjustment. Let me be specific here because this is one of those things that catches people off guard. For your everyday grocery shopping in Oak Harbor, you're working with Hagen, Safeway, Grocery Outlet, and SARS Market. Those are your options. They're solid for basics, and most locals make it work just fine. But if you're used to having a wide variety of stores to choose from, you will notice the difference quickly. Now, if you need more variety, your first stop is going to be Burlington or Mount Vernon across the bridge. That's where you start to get your Target, a larger Walmart, bigger Hagen, different Safeway locations, and a few more choices. Anacortes also has some options that are worth knowing about. And if you travel down island, there are some smaller local businesses and specialty spots worth exploring. But if you are specifically looking for a Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, a well-stocked natural food store, or any real specialty grocery experience, you're realistically looking at Bellingham to the north or Linwood to the south. That's your trip. It is doable. Most people build it into a monthly run, but it is something you need to plan around rather than something you can just do on a whim. The food delivery situation is also worth a mention. DoorDash and Uber Eats do actually have coverage here, but the selection is not what you would find in a larger city. For some people, that is a total non-issue. For others, it is one of those small daily frictions that adds up over time. Number 6, the cost of living has crept up and wages have not always kept pace. Home prices in Oak Harbor have risen significantly over the last 6 years. You're not looking at Whidbey waterfront prices necessarily, but a move-in ready single-family home in a solid Oak Harbor neighborhood is going to run you anywhere from the mid 400s into the 600s and beyond, depending on the area and condition of the home. The inventory has been tight and the competition has been real. What makes this complicated is that the local wage base does not always match those price points for civilian workers. If you are active duty military, BAH typically helps bridge that gap, but if you're a civilian worker in a local economy job, healthcare, retail, service industry, you may find yourself in a housing affordability squeeze that is more acute than expected for a city this size. Gas, groceries, and home services also run slightly higher here than mainland comparisons, partly because of island logistics and partly because of the overall cost inflation that has hit the entire Pacific Northwest. Go in with a realistic budget and do not assume small town automatically means affordable. In Oak Harbor's current market, that assumption will surprise you. Number 7, getting on and off the island is a bigger part of your life than you might expect. Oak Harbor sits in the northern part of Whidbey Island, which means most people here access the mainland via Deception Pass and Highway 20, not the ferry. The Mokilteo Clinton ferry serves the southern end of the island, which is a significant drive from Oak Harbor. So for many Oak Harbor residents, the ferry is not your daily reality. Deception Pass bridges. What that means practically: Highway 20 through Deception Pass and into Burlington is your primary artery. And on summer weekends, when tourists are pulling over to stare at the bridge, or during the autumn leaf season, or any major holiday, that drive can become genuinely frustrating. There is no alternate route, and if there's an accident on 20, you are waiting. If construction narrows the bridge, you're waiting. The single road nature of island access is one of those things that does not feel like a big deal until it's your Tuesday and you're late for something important. For those who do use the ferry, whether for occasional trips to the Seattle side or for specific commutes, planning around the schedule is just part of the rhythm. The ferry system is actually pretty reliable and even scenic, but it requires a different relationship with time than most people are used to. The phrase, "I missed the ferry," becomes a real part of your vocabulary, and it is one of those island living realities you learn to build your schedule around. Number 8, the dining scene will humble your expectations. Let me be direct about this one. Oak Harbor's restaurant scene is limited. There are some genuinely great local spots, and I don't want to undersell the local businesses that work very hard to serve this community well. But if dining out is a significant part of your lifestyle and you have high expectations for variety, you are going to feel the constraint. You've got your chain restaurants, the Applebee's, the Jack in the Box tier. You've got some solid local options, a handful of decent Mexican restaurants, some pizza, some Thai, some sushi, but the kind of deep, diverse culinary scene you find in even a mid-sized city, multiple ethnic cuisines, farm-to-table dining, a rotating selection of exciting new restaurants, that's just not Oak Harbor right now. For a special dinner out, most residents with that expectation are driving to Burlington, Anacortes, or Bellingham. Bellingham in particular has a genuinely impressive restaurant scene for its size, and it's about an hour north. That becomes your treat yourself move, and honestly, most Oak Harbor residents adapt to this pretty quickly. A lot of people just cook more at home, and there's something nice about that, but the adjustment is real, especially in that first year. One thing worth watching, there has been some slow but genuine growth in the local food scene over the recent years, and when a good new restaurant opens in Oak Harbor, the community rallies around it hard. There's a real appetite, no pun intended, for more options here. And small business owners who get it right tend to build a very loyal local following. But right now, variety is limited and your expectations should match reality. Number 9, making long-term friends takes more effort than you might expect. Building a deep, lasting social circle in Oak Harbor takes intentional effort, more than most places. The reason is that the military rotation cycle means that a significant portion of the population is here for 2 to 4 years and then gone. You meet wonderful people, you build genuine relationships, and then they PCS to Bremerton, Norfolk, or Okinawa. This is the nature of military life, and military families are extraordinary at building community quickly, precisely because they had to do it over and over and over again. But for civilians moving here without that experience, watching your social circle rotate out can feel destabilizing. The civilian long-timer community does exist, and it's wonderful. There are people who have been here for 20, 30 years and are deeply rooted. Finding those people and building relationships with them tends to be the key to feeling genuinely settled here. Local civic organizations, volunteer groups, church communities, and yes, local businesses like some of those entertainment spots we talked about, those are often where the longer-term community fabric lives. If you're an introvert who's happy with a small, close circle, this does not have to be a problem, but if you're someone who thrives on a wide, dynamic social life and finds energy from constantly growing network and connections, the turnover dynamic here will be something you will have to consciously work against. Number 10, Oak Harbor is a town you have to decide to love. It will not seduce you immediately. Here is the truest thing I can tell you about Oak Harbor after spending over a decade of my life here. This is not the place that charms you instantly. It does not have the obvious wow factor of somewhere like Leavenworth or the immediate urban cool of a Capitol Hill neighborhood in Seattle. When you first drive through Oak Harbor, it might feel a little underwhelming. Strip malls, a few quiet blocks, some empty storefronts, mixed in with the businesses that are trying hard. And yet, people fall in love with this place deeply. People who moved here for military assignment and swore they would leave the moment it was up, who are still here 10 years later because something got into them about this town. The morning fog lifting off Puget Sound, the way the whole community shows up to something like a local parade or a high school football game. The fact that when something hard happens, a fire, a family crisis, a local business struggling, this town shows up in a way that bigger places simply cannot. The 10 reasons I gave you today are real. The noise, the isolation, the limited entertainment, the homelessness challenges, the community growing pains, the cost of living, the dining scene, the social dynamics, all of it is real and worth weighing seriously. But none of it's the whole story. The whole story is that Oak Harbor is a small town with a big community soul. If you are willing to put in the time to find it. If you need a place to hand you everything on a silver platter, look elsewhere. But if you're willing to build something here, to show up and be part of this place, to embrace the trade-offs alongside the genuinely beautiful parts, Oak Harbor has a way of becoming exactly what you were looking for, even when it looks nothing like what you imagined. All right, that is the honest version of Oak Harbor, Washington. 10 things to think carefully about before you make your move. I hope that gave you something real to work with. If you want to keep going, I have already put together a full breakdown of the true cost of living in Oak Harbor, what things actually cost here, what to budget for, and what surprises people the most when they get here. It is worth watching before you make any decisions. I'll have that linked right here on the screen. Go check that one out next. And if you're in research mode for a move to this area, whether you're a military family getting orders or a civilian who is just curious about island life on Whidbey, reach out. Info's in the description. I answer personally, and I love these conversations. I'll talk to you soon.